Estevao Williams has been a remarkable signing for Chelsea. Signed in the summer of 2024, was loaned out to Palmeiras for another year and is back now at Chelsea. And Enzo Maresca had something to say about this player because Estevao is one player that a lot of fans will be looking at. Now, Maresca said that he can play everywhere. He's so good. For me, he's like Cole Palmer. And why would Maresca just make a bold statement to compare him to Chelsea's best attacker? This is because, even complimented with his nomination to the Ballon d'Or, Estevao Willians has a higher ceiling in football. And in our video today, I'm going to explain to you why I think he might just be the next Neymar. Now, when you look at this, you see that his profile, he's a very young player. And you can see that his preferred foot is the left foot. It's not quite tall, but that is mainly accepted for wingers because they are more technical, and you can see his goals. Now, when you look at his stats sheet, what do you notice? You look at his attacking numbers and you can see his non-penalty goals are so high. You look at his progressive passes and his progressive carries, indicating that he's more of a creator than an attacker. Though when he finds himself in those positions, he's quite great. His defensive numbers are, however, worrying. Before we start, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Estevao has taken up the number 41 that he had at Palmeiras. And in our video today, I'm going to try and explain to you why I think he is the next star for Chelsea. I'm going to in-depthly look at his role and look at his strengths and weaknesses. Now let's look at this. Chelsea play with a 4-2-3-1. And in this 4-2-3-1, there is a way Maresca actually sets up his team in attack. There are 4 defenders, 2 midfielders, 3 attacking players, and 1 striker. Now, the position that Estevao is supposed to occupy is in the attacking setup of the team. Now, let's look at this. Estevao is coming into Chelsea, and this might actually create problems for a player like Pedro Neto. Though, looking at the number of games, you clearly understand that it will not be an issue. Now, Estevao is a very good dribbler of the ball in this position. And in this position, his main aim is to take on the fullback. And that is one thing that Estevao is so good at. If you've watched him, you've realized that he's such a good dribbler of the ball. And I just want to show you one thing, because Maresca expects his wingers to receive the ball in the wide area. Look at this position. Estevao is receiving the ball close to the touchline. That is where Maresca wants his winger to receive the ball. A simple skill, and he's able to beat the fullback, and now he has numbers taking on the opposition backline. Here again, look at the position that Estevao is picking. This is after he has beaten his fullback, and now he's looking to advance, drawing center backs out of position. Here is now being countered by both the fullback and the center back. Simple flick on, and he's able to beat him. Again, you can notice where Estevao looks to try and receive the ball, especially in that wide right channel. And his skills and his composure is like that player who has glue on his feet. Estevao drops deep to receive the ball, pulls the fullback out of position. Once the fullback comes, what you expect? You expect a player to play the ball backwards. No. Estevao is able to take a turn and now look to drive with the ball forward because he knows that now he can attack that space left behind. Estevao also can find himself in these central positions on the pitch. And once he finds himself in this position, he's very skillful, showcasing his skill in how he can actually navigate tight areas. You can see here, used a quick change of his body, has taken 2 players out of the game, and he has created for himself space through the center. And that's why people are even talking about the next Neymar. Here, 2 players have put on Estevao Willians, and just look at what he does. He's able to bypass all of them. Now, they're actually 3 players. And what do you expect Estevao is going to do? He's going to beat all of them. He's going to play the ball back, receive the pass back, and guess what he does in this situation? Simple finish. Simple finish. He has taken away 4 players from himself, and he's actually managed to score. Just look at that. This boy is so quick with his feet, super quick with his feet, in that he really draws a lot of players to himself. Here, Estevao has the ball. He has 3 defenders ahead of him. And watch what he does. Simple, he scores. He's able to beat even 3 defenders ahead of him, get into the right position, and actually score a goal. Here, he has received the ball, he has drawn a fullback out of position, and he has created spaces in the half space. And if you've not understood the half space, kindly check my previous video. Because from this position, Estevao is able to manipulate the ball, have a shot on goal, or play the ball. And this is one thing that will really benefit players like Palma. Here, Estevao receives the ball under pressure, he's able to beat his fullback. And look, he has now drawn a fullback out of position, and there is space open in the half space. He plays the ball onto the striker who had dropped deep in an inside position. And now imagine if João Pedro is receiving the ball in that position. Automatically, you know that Chelsea are going to score. Here again, he notices the position in that half space position, receives the ball, looks to cut the ball, and you can see he's drawing a player to himself. Here again, Estevao receives the ball, flicks the ball past the fullback. Once he flicks the ball past the fullback, he is able to beat the fullback, and now he's looking to attack that space that was actually left by the fullback dropping in. And what you notice is that he is able to create these situations by himself. And you notice one thing, that in Palmeiras, he's creating these spaces in the half spaces, but there's no player who's exploiting it. Now, at Chelsea, he's going to have Cole Palmer who's exploiting it. Here, Estevao is receiving the ball in zone 14 in that number 10 position. Look at this. Look at the position where he is. Estevao makes a shot and he actually scores, signifying how he's so good with long range shots. Now, what you understand from that scenario is that he likes to receive the ball towards the touchline. He likes to receive the ball in the wide area. And because he likes to receive the ball in this position, he's able to create problems for the opposition. He's able to draw in a fullback. And once he draws in a fullback, he's able to actually allow his teammates to actually make runs in those half space positions. And once those players make those runs in those half space positions, he's able to actually effect some change. Estevao in this position can also look to play balls over the top, especially towards the far post, where he can have wingers who are making runs into those areas. And once these wingers are making those runs into those areas, Estevao is able to create something that is actually quite problematic. Estevao in this position has the ball, receives the ball, and he looks to cut in into that half space zone. Once he can cut in into that half space zone when Chelsea are looking to play with him and Palma, so that Palma can occupy the left, he can occupy the right, and then he can have either Malo Gusto overlapping, or even sometimes if Maresca wants to go ultra attack, he can have Pedro Neto, so that now he can have both Palma and Estevao in those positions. And when you have both of them in those positions, then you are more likely to create a lot of problems. And Estevao in those positions can look to create, as we can see in this clip. You see, once he receives the ball, you just look at how he's able to receive the ball in those areas, how he's able to read the game. Here, he's receiving the ball, a fullback has overlapped, and he's the one who's looking to dominate that half space. Once he receives that ball in that half space position, look at what he's about to do next. He scores from that position, meaning that this player has that shooting ability to create problems. Here, his team are in the counter attack, and look at the position that he's occupying. You see, the position that he's occupying is what allows him to have an easy tap-in, meaning that he's able to make that run and give Chelsea that outlet when Chelsea are looking to try to actually overload the opposition when it comes to attacking from the far post area. But one thing I like about him, even without the ball, is that when he's pressing, he makes the right decisions when the team wins the ball back, in that he's able to play a player who's in a very friendly position where the player can actually look to score a goal. And this just showcases his creative aspect of the game. And you notice that this is a player who's a very good creator if he's able to make that pass. Another thing that you notice with him is his aerial ability also. He's not quite the tallest, but he knows how to attack that far post area. Those are something that I've really asked for Noni Madueke. But the half space. Why am I constantly maintaining on the half space? Is that if Estevao has a player who can make those runs, especially those runs in areas where Cole Palmer likes to occupy, then you notice that him and Cole Palmer are going to be a menace down that right-hand flank. Another thing I have to say about him is that opposition like to put a lot of players on him. And once they put a lot of players on him, they often leaves space in the far flank, and Estevao has this trademark where he likes to switch the ball towards that side. Here, our position lines are quite narrow, and look, he's dropping in between the lines, receiving the ball, and looking to continue with the attack. I also talked about dropping in between the lines, and Estevao is doing this. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that, yes, Estevao drops in between the lines, and that is another aspect that Chelsea can look to actually leverage from Estevao, meaning that Estevao gives Chelsea an added advantage when he drops in between the lines. Here again, he's receiving the ball in the wide area, drawing a fullback out of position and creating that space. And the more he drops deep, the ball is so dangerous, he keeps on dragging and disorienting the opposition backline. Here, he does a dummy, leaves the opposition fullback for dead, and is able now to exploit that space. And now, Palmeiras are having a 2v2 in that backline. Now, imagine if Chelsea are finding themselves in these positions. Here again, receives the ball, draws in a fullback out of position. He's able to play the ball ahead of the fullback. And look, players are making runs. And at Chelsea, is going to find a structure that Maresca has set up that allows him to actually exploit these spaces. And you can notice one thing about Estevao is that the way he keeps the ball, it's not so easy to take the ball off him. So it makes it so different for opponents to actually try to get the best out of him. And one thing I like about him is his 1v1 ability. And that's why you've seen his progressive carries are quite impressive in that he likes to draw in fullbacks and knows that he can dribble past them. He can even try to play quick 1-2s with these players who are inside. And one thing I have to say about Estevao that I have seen about his gameplay is that he really needs to improve his defensive work rate. And that's something that Maresca will not negotiate. Because if Palma is doing his defensive job, you're going to do it. But one thing I like about him is that he has always had that discipline since he was a young player that he wants to get to the top. So if he can see his idol players like Cole Palmer, players like João Pedro, players like Fernandes, a young team that is actually doing everything for each other, then you automatically expect that he's going to come in and do that. Another thing I like about him is the way he flicks, he changes his body position. That gives him some kind of a unique aspect. So in some time in the future, we're going to see him dominate the right half space and see Palma moving on to the left. And another thing that he will heavily be expected to do is that if he starts down the right hand flank, then he will be expected to be the one to apply pressure to the fullback, in that Palma or João Pedro and Dilap will be the one leading the press. The wingers' work is so incredible in that they have to apply pressure in those wide areas. So when I'm talking about Estevao, I'm talking about a young project. I'm talking about a player who has the ability to be the next Neymar. I'm really serious when I'm saying this. He has the ability to be the next Neymar. He has the ability to be the next great thing at Chelsea. And we might just see another superstar at Chelsea. I've done a video on half spaces. I've talked about what is the half space, what is the playing in between the lines, how does Maresca look to try and manipulate this thing. And you can understand from this signing and our analysis that Estevao understands his role of starting out wide and creating that space between the fullback and the center back. And that is the space we call the half space. But I've done an elaborate video on that. And if you really want to understand more on this and understand how Estevao is actually going to improve and be part of Maresca's secret weapon, kindly check the video down below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.